Ryan Blaney has finally broken through to victory lane for the first time in 59 races. And yes, you can include the All-Star race where he won it twice, but let's not really include that crap. This is a big deal for Blaney, and it's been overshadowed by the news from this week, but it still deserves discussion on whether or not this is just a blip or if this is changing of the tides for Blaney. Because Blaney has had times before where people think he's right on the verge of competing for a championship. Ultimately, though, for him to come up short, maybe get one win a year, or at one point get multiple wins in a year, but not really make anything of it in the final year-end tally. But might this be different? It does feel a bit different, and I want to look into it today. So first off, Blaney had a 59 race winless streak, but in that time, he was incredibly consistent. Blaney was one of the guys last year vying off of points because he didn't get a win for the playoffs, but he was in the top 5 in points all of last season, and he's pretty much picked up right where he left off in 2023 now. When you look back at Blaney since going full-time for the most part, let's look back to, say, 2017, he has finished in the top 10 in points a grand total of 6 times in 6 years. But what's more crazy about that is that he was 7th to 10th in points every year from 2017 through last season. But when you look at also the other numbers he puts up, it's actually incredible just how consistent he is. While compared to Kasey Kahne, he is definitely much more consistently up front than Kahne ever was. In 2017, for instance, while he only had 4 top 5s, he did get a win and had a 17th place average with 21 lead lap finishes. All of these were lows for him in this time. Since then, he has been between about a 12th place average finish and a 14th place average finish. He's been between 16 and 20 top 10s. And, other than 2018 with 8 top 5s, has had 11 or 12 top 5s a year. And then again, other than 21 and 22, had a win a year from 18 to 20. While all of these seem like just mindless numbers that show that he's been doing exactly the same thing, what it shows is that he has tons of speed. He has the ability to be up front every week. He has the ability to capitalize off of others' mistakes. A lot of the times, it's his mistakes that others capitalize on. And while he had one win in many of those seasons, he very easily could have had 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 wins if things go right or they don't make mistakes or the crew doesn't screw up or Blaney just doesn't fade at the end of a race. But there are 2 outliers here. 2021, he had 3 wins, and 2022, where he had no wins. Both of these, again, though, are outliers, and now we could reckon to say that in 2023, he may have gotten his only win of the season. Again, other than 2 seasons, this has been the norm. He gets 1 win, people talk about it for a bit, and then it goes away. When you look at the top 5s, he has 4 so far, and let's be honest, he is probably tracking to get 10 to 12 top 5s all over again like he normally does. 8 top 10s, meaning a little under halfway through the season, he's probably trending to get about 17 to 20 top 10s again, like he normally does. 236 laps led is trending again to be between that 400 and 600, 11.7 average, while the best by just a little bit still is within the margin that he normally is in. 12 lead lap finishes, again, same thing. What Blaney's having right now is a normal statistical season to what he normally does. But what about some of the more intangibles? What the numbers don't show necessarily unless you take a deeper look. Let's look at his wins. In 2017, he won at Pocono, what was, in my opinion at the time, his most impressive run in his career, holding off Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch in the closing laps. Those 2 at the time were some of the best and are still in the top 10 of NASCAR's all-time wins list. So you cannot take that away from him whatsoever. Then you look at the Roval. He had a miracle win at the end where Truex and Johnson took each other out, and while he was running fast enough to be up front and did take advantage of it, was not his race to win, but more the leaders to lose. Then you got the Talladega wins that were very close. You have Atlanta and Michigan that were 550 races, and then the crazy 2021 package at Daytona for super speedways. So when you look at it, the only one of his wins he can really say is a statement win would be his first one. But the problem is that was 6 years ago. That is not something that's relevant to today. So what's the difference between those wins and his Coke 600 win? Well, in my opinion, this is the first time that the driver has mattered more and he has completely dominated a race that he's won. When you look at the lap sled, he's the only one that led over 100 laps, which is pretty good. And in the Coke 600, it's normal for possibly two drivers to lead over 100 laps as the track changes throughout the night. That team was the only one, in my opinion, who consistently was in the top 3 to 5 the entire race and was fast enough to stay there and didn't need any strategy to do it. And even when they were beat off pit road, the driver overcame those issues where he normally doesn't and got the lead a lot of times and got the win. My point here is that it looked like a different race. From the eye test, Blaney looked visibly better than he ever had before, and that's something that cannot be taken away from him. Now, whether or not that continues from one race to the rest of the season is to be seen. Again, a new Blaney might not just be new, it might just be, like I said, a blip. We'll have to see about that. But it is worth noting how fast he was and how good he was running. Even when he was shuffled back, he quickly recovered. Now, other numbers here to look at are so far he's been able to keep the car on track more than anyone else out there aside from Corey LaJoie and Ricky Stenhouse, who both also have 0 DNFs on the year. And in the next gen era so far, it's been normal for many drivers to get DNFs. So for Blaney to keep the car on track is going to be crucial in earning those extra points, both in the regular season and especially come playoff time. His 8 top 10s right now are tied for first with 2 really good drivers who everyone's talking about being in some way a championship contender. William Byron, the winningest driver this year and obviously the fastest driver so far, and Christopher Bell, the most consistent driver of the year when he's not getting taken out by others' issues. That's worth noting too. So not only does he have the speed to win, but he has the speed to stay up front and earn tons of points in the process. Those both are crucial for winning a championship in this era. And then, last but not least, he is the leader of Penske right now. Yes, Joey Logano won the championship last year. You can't take that away from Logano, but what you can say is this year has been maddeningly inconsistent. Logano is 14th in the points right now and can hardly keep the car up front when it's not getting shuffled to the back, running mid-pack, or running out of the race. He's still bad fast, but the team is inconsistent and cannot keep up with Blaney. And then Cindric's fallen off a cliff, being outside the top 20 in the deuce. So I really don't think that he's going to pose any sort of challenge to Blaney on this one. So overall, I think that everything is pointing in the direction of Blaney having his most successful season yet. He has seemed visibly faster by the eye test. He's seemed better in his statistics, or at least on par while driving eye test better. So I think so far he may just be able to break through that barrier. Or he ends up doing the same thing he always does, looks great in a regular season, and then throws up a dud in the playoffs. Time will tell. But with that, I'm going to pass it on to you and ask, what do you think Blaney's going to do as the season goes on? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support. Have a good one.